Hi, my name is Jeff, and I'm an occupational therapist practicing in America, and I go by the name OTDUDE. And occupational therapy helps people to do the things that they want to do that are meaningful to them. It's that simple. So today I decided to film a video of just a day in the life of me, and I woke up to this and I promised my wife that I would clean up the kitchen, and here we are. And it's easy to become overwhelmed with just basic mundane tasks like this every day. Basically you have stress and anxiety, but this is something that everybody faces, at least if you have to do the dishes, and it's part of life. And I figured I can either get stressed about it or I can make a video about it to not only help people like you guys, but also to really just help log my life and help me provide insight into someone who is an occupational therapist who also goes through the same struggles as you guys every day in life. Two things that I thought about I could talk about are mindfulness and energy conservation. So mindfulness, I think it's really gaining traction, and there's a lot of research behind it, and it's a very useful thing that I even use myself day in, day out. And the simple way to put it, if you aren't familiar with mindfulness, is really just noticing things, taking the time to not be mindless, but paying attention to the present moment and noticing things. So that is also involves actually noticing the good and the bad too, not just how the positive things, but real world things like a mess, and not being judgmental about it. So I guess as I am going to clean up this area along with you guys, I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to try to be mindful, at least while I'm recording a video. So technically I'm multitasking. So the second thing I wanted to talk about is energy conservation. So we all have a certain amount of energy, kind of like a battery, like a smartphone battery for the day, and it only has so much charge. That's the metaphor for how much energy you have. So the more you conserve your energy, then that leaves you more power, more battery power to do other things. That's kind of similar to how you don't want to leave your smartphone on and like leave the screen on and have it turn off automatically, right? Like a screen sleep mode. So you really want to think about how you want to plan your day. And even if it's something as simple as like cleaning up this area, if you have weakness, chronic fatigue, if you have pain like I did, like with my chronic low back pain, I can't do things like bending down a lot and reaching, and washing dishes especially is an activity that can induce a lot of low back pain, even just standing for long periods. So one thing that I've done to my environment here is I have these, you've probably seen these before. It's like a fatigue mat, like the ones that people use to stand on at restaurants, and it's just like a soft, squishy foam thing. So if you don't have anything like this in your environment, I highly recommend it. Whether you have low back pain or anything like that or not, having one of these things can really just prolong the time that you can stand. Energy conservation. So you want to basically plan your movement. So rather than, and this is actually kind of goes with mindfulness actually, rather than mindlessly going through and just doing the first thing that comes to mind, it helps to plan your movements and to plan, basically part of the energy conservation is planning, right? So planning what I want to do. So rather than just going and reaching and putting things away, one idea may be to group things together. So I already started this cleaning process already, but for example, here I have my knife and my scissors, and these go to the same place. So rather than, for example, reaching and going to put this away and then coming back, making a second trip to grab the scissors, I'm gonna group things that go together, like such as in the same drawer, and doing those things kind of in groups, and then coming back and let's say putting the dishes away where the dishes go, and then putting the cups away where the cups go, instead of going back and forth. So even though it takes a little bit more time or more mental energy and gymnastics to think about what you want to do, I think it takes less like mental cognitive energy to think about something than to actually physically do something in the real world. And to kind of share with you what's going on in my head, what I'm thinking about is clearing up this dish rack and leaving room for basically when the dishes are washed, either from hand washing or the dishwasher. I haven't really decided what yet, but I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into it. So I'm gonna put these two away. And I got some plates. So for example, like Some of you guys may do this already without even thinking about it. So kudos to you guys. But like these plates I know go into the same place, and it's the same drawer as this bowl. So I'm gonna group these together. And then next, these spoons go together in the same drawer. So I'm gonna put this here. And what's left are kind of like miscellaneous things that go into other different places. So now I have the option to basically do things at kind of counter depth level, and I have lower cabinets that involve more reaching. So that's gonna be more difficult, I know, because when I reach down, it's gonna involve more bending and squatting versus doing things at the counter height level. If you can organize and rearrange your environment so that things that you do most often, like reaching for utensils, for example, you're gonna do that every day, right? Put that in a convenient, easy to reach location. Like you wouldn't like have it in like a cabinet that's like really far that involves reaching, or like really down low to the ground that also involves bending and squatting. And to make things more complicated, life isn't that simple. I have a 2-year-old, so a lot of things are childproof. So I probably go back and forth already to reach back for this magnet to unlock the cabinet. So that's another thing, going back and forth. So my wife has a pretty cool trick where she kind of learned to basically hold this in her hand instead of having to reach and go back for this. And one thing that you may encounter as well, should you do the harder things first or the easier things first? And there's many schools of thought. Personally, I think for most people, it's probably best to do the things that are easiest first. One, because it takes the less time, it's the least amount of effort. Because if you do the harder things first, you may kind of, underestimate how difficult it may be, and it may end up tiring you out and you may end up not doing much at all. Oh, there you go, I'm not being mindful again. I forgot to put this away in the same spot that the plates go. So unfortunately for my environment, I think it hasn't been rearranged ever since we had our kid. So things probably could be in a better spot. Okay, finally, dish rack is relatively cleared up. This is just like a bubble thing for my kid. And put the magnet back where it belongs. I came from a background where we wash everything by hand. And then we actually have a dishwasher that we haven't used for many, many years. And recently we got back into using it. It's pretty handy, and I use a combination of both, either the hand washing method or dishwashing method, depending on 2 things. 1, how I feel, 2, how many dishes we have, and 3, really just what I feel like using. The difficulty, I think, with using the dishwasher for me personally is it involves a lot of squatting. So actually for me, because of the squatting that is involved with this dishwasher, it'd be nice if they made like maybe they do have a counter dishwasher, but for me, squatting I think is more difficult and more energy consumption-y, like consuming. Like going squatting and standing and squatting and standing versus just standing there at height level, where the dishes, we placed them already in the sink. So it's already at the height that I'm comfortable in working with. The problem is, 1, it takes a longer time. 2, it takes more effort, uses a little bit more water. From what I understand, I think dishwashing by hand takes more water than using an automatic dishwasher. And you guys let me know in the comments what's the best way to load up a dishwasher, because I came from a background of not using one of these. So I never had so much fun doing my dishes before. These look like plastic forks, but they're actually not. So here's one thing that I just thought of. This thing is removable. So rather than, before what I did was I squat down and bent and did a lot of repetitive movements, I'm gonna bring this over to a height that I can work with that's comfortable for me. Like this grouping tip that I was talking about, and putting away all the utensils at the same time. So yeah, just grouping. Believe it or not, I've never done anything like this before in terms of this grouping. In terms of my utensils, I've always just bent down and reached back and forth for utensils, not really thinking about it, doing it kind of willy-nilly or kind of just impulsively, I guess you can say. So anyways, I'm not gonna bore you guys watching me put away my dishes into the dishwasher for the rest of the video, but I hope this helps. I definitely gained a lot of insight in kind of educating and talking through this with you guys as I'm rethinking my habits really, and my chores, in my day-to-day life. So let me know if you have any tips for me and how I can rearrange my environment, make my life easier. Hope this helps. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.